Welcome to Abnormal, the podcast for normal people that want to do abnormal things. Today we have Nikki Han on the show. Nikki is an ultra marathon runner who is the first female to ever complete the Hong Kong 4 Trails, which is a 300-kilometer ultra race, which has to be completed in under 60 hours.
Yeah.
Let's start with that. I have a lot of questions. How does it feel initially, in 2019 it was, right?
2019, yes.
To be the first ever female finisher of a race like this?
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. It was a really fantastic race. Well, it's not a race, it's a challenge.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
What's the difference? Why do they call it a challenge, not a race?
Because there's no first, second, third or fourth place.
It's just based off time.
Yeah, it's a challenge.
So talk us through, when I was doing some research and digging around, they have finishers and
Survivors.
Yeah. So can you tell us the difference between the two?
So a finisher is under 60 hours. A survivor is 72 hours.
Wow, it's a big difference.
Yeah, big
12
difference,
hours.
Yeah.
So, and if you miss the 72-hour mark, what? You're nothing.
You're nothing. Yeah.
So you're even though you've completed it, you're.
Yeah. But there has been a girl a few years ago. She just carried on. I think she did it in 82 hours.
Wow.
But there was nobody there at the post box for her.
No one was there.
Yeah,
No one waited.
Well, maybe a few people, but
Oh,
yeah.
that's so sad.
Andre, who runs it, he left and. Yeah.
Oh, so if you are running the trails and then it gets to that 72-hour mark, is it normal for people to just stop, or would you continue to finish?
I think there's only been a few times that people have carried on. I think most people actually, if they're going to stop, they'll have stopped before the 72 hours.
Got it. Yeah. I'm talking about it as if it's like minutes, like 60 minutes, 72 minutes, but 12 hours difference is quite a long time to realise. So what was your time? 50?
The first time was 58 hours, 20 minutes.
Wow.
And I was the first person to miss the 3 a.m. ferry to then go on and complete the Lantau Trail.
That was it. I remember now because one of our mutual friends, Scotty, he told me this story, or he told me what it meant. So can you just go into that? What does that mean, missing the Lantau ferry?
Before, everyone thought that you had to make the 3 a.m. ferry to be a finisher. So that's what we all thought. You have to get that 3 a.m. ferry.
And if you don't hit that ferry, then there's no chance you're going to make the 60-hour
cut-off. Be a finisher, yeah. So I missed the 3 a.m. ferry and I had to get the 6 a.m. ferry.
So 3-hour difference.
Yeah, so I sat at the Mubo ferry pier in Central for 3 hours. I just missed it.
Oh my God, that's so sad.
So then I was thinking, oh, that's it, no finisher.
So even you thought that you weren't going to finish it at that point?
Yeah, and then I talked to my crew, I talked to my husband, and they were like, you can do this.
Yes.
You can do it. I live on Lantau, it's my home. It's
the home straight.
I know it so well. So I was on the ferry and I had a little, talk to my crew, and they said, you have to do it. You just have to go for it. And actually, I did.
You smashed it.
And I did it in 12 hours. Yeah.
That's insane. So you had to wait there for 3 hours just to get the 6 a.m. instead of 3 a.m.
The slow ferry over. So I arrived there just before 7 a.m. in the morning. And then I started it just after 7.
So any listeners in Hong Kong will realise that there's a big difference between the fast ferry and the slow ferry.
Yeah.
It's especially, I'm sure, when you're hitting the deadlines, when you're looking to hit that 60-hour mark. Yeah. And so when that last Lantau stretch, then you said it's a 12 hours of...
I did it in 12 hours.
And how long is it distance-wise, that last...
That's 70k with about just under 4,000 metres of elevation. But the last 21k, really hard. You've got Lantau Peak, Sunset Peak.
Oh my goodness.
Two of the second highest and the third highest hills in Hong Kong.
And it was your crew and your husband, you say, that were the ones to...
Yeah, you can do this. You've got it. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
And I felt really good, to be honest. I didn't feel tired. I didn't have any pain.
How?
So I just ran.
How did you not feel tired? So at this point, what was it? You had 60 Ks left to do, or 70 Ks left to do, did you say?
70. Yeah.
So you already ran 230 Ks.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I think I just had one of those runs where on the Lantau Trail was just... They call it like a unicorn run.
Yeah.
And that was what I had.
I'd imagine a unicorn run is similar in a sports terms, like a team sports, where you say everything you touch turns to gold.
Yeah, everything just flowed. Everything just went perfectly. Yeah.
I can't wait for my first ever unicorn run. How do we reach that stage of unicorn runs? Have you had any other unicorn runs apart from that one?
Close, but not as good as that one. That 2019 Four Trails was really the best.
That must have felt
I've had.
So special. Not only being the first female finisher to hit under 60 hours, to have your back against the wall, having missed the ferry.
Yeah.
You being down in the slumps and your team telling you you've got this.
Yeah.
Finishing on your home turf in Lantau.
Yeah.
Can you describe to us the emotions of when you kind of come into the ferry terminal at the end and so we're saying there's a green post box, right? And that's the finishing. Yeah. That's the finishing line. Yeah. You have to kiss that to signify that you finished. Yeah. I've seen the videos on YouTube, and I must admit, before today, I didn't even know you, right? Yeah. And watching that YouTube video, I was close to tears, seeing the emotion. Not really the emotion of you, but everyone else around you.
Yeah, I had a lot of people following me.
And you could tell that everyone there was really rooting for you. There were chants going around, Nikki, Nikki.
And my two girls were there.
So tell us about the emotions of that moment.
Yeah, it's just a relief that you've made it to the post box under 60 hours. And you've done it. And all the hard work that went into training for it paid off. And there was a lot of hard work.
I mean, we're definitely going to get into that because I do want to actually talk about how you actually train for an event like that, which has like a team element, even though it's an individual challenge. There is a support team, right?
Well, it's self-supported while on the trails, but in the transitions. No, there's nothing.
Oh gosh.
So so you're unsupported while on the trails. So the Mackle House, you're unsupported for 100k. You meet your crew in the car. This
is getting worse and worse.
They drive you to the next trail start, which is the Wilson. Then you've got 80k on your own. So it's self-supported.
Wow.
While on trail.
I love just in this conversation how we're throwing around terms like 80k and 100k like it's nothing. I mean, for you, it is nothing, right? Well, not nothing, but you've done a lot of these races.
Yeah, it's taken a long time to build up to that.
How many of these, first of all, how long have you been doing this sort of ultra running?
Since about 2012.
Okay. Yeah. So good 13 years or so.
Yeah. I started off with 15k, 25k.
So you were into running before ultra running?
Road running.
Okay.
Yeah, half marathons.
How long had you been doing that kind of stuff for?
Yeah, on and off for my whole life, really. Yeah.
But not
seriously.
Not seriously.
No, not seriously.
So what was it then about trail running that really made you flick a switch and be like, oh, these long distances, this could be for me?
Yeah, it's a freedom. I feel so free when I'm doing really long stuff and pushing myself.
And because one of the first questions I wrote down for this episode was, how does anyone actually get into ultra trail running? Because on the surface, you've got like a spectrum of running, right? Like everything. You've got the 5K, the distance of road running, entry level trail running, and then for most people, half marathons or marathons will be the maximum they could humanly think of is possible for them in their lifetime. And I mean, even for me, like as of 2 years ago, a marathon would have been the longest distance I would have ever thought about running in my whole life. Since meeting more people like you and being in Hong Kong a bit more and having now completed a marathon, you do let yourself think a bit about those longer distances and what it feels like. But how does that thought process happen for you to go from, okay, I ran 15K. Does it then go straight up to these 300 kilometer distances, or what does that transition look like?
I started with 15k, and then there was a few of those, then I did 25, and then the thought of doing a 50k was just unimaginable.
And what was that first 50k like?
Well, then I thought, I'll just sign up for one. It was a Trans-Lantau 50, I think back in 2013. And so I did it, and I did really well, and I really enjoyed it. And I thought, I can do more of these 50k. So I signed up for a few more, and then you just want to go further.
Push yourself more and more.
Push yourself further, yeah. So then I signed up for 100Ks, and then I did more 100Ks. You get good at that distance, and then you think, I could just try
chip away
100 miles. But 100 miles is very different.
Oh, it's like 60 kilometres more, no?
From 100K, yeah. Yeah, it's very different. And so the first 100 miles I did was in Japan.
The Mount Fuji one?
Yes, UTMF.
I saw that on your like ultra marathon profile.
Yeah, so that was back in 2015, I think.
Wow.
When it was still being held in September, so the weather was just horrific. It was wet, mud, awful. So I finished that, but I was pretty traumatized by it.
And that was 100 miles.
That was 100 miles.
Okay.
But it left me still wanting more. You know, like
that sicko inside of your head is just like more,
it's addictive.
more. Yeah.
It's addictive.
And how long does it take for after you finish a race like that? Is there ever a point where you're like, right, never again, and then like 2 days after you're like, oh, maybe I'll...
No, never. I never really think
you
about
never have that.
No.
Because a lot of the people that I know that have ran marathons
Yeah.
at very different levels to what you're on, even myself, to be honest. I say lots of people that I know. These are just thoughts that I have.
Yeah.
Every time that I run a long distance, I'm like, never again. No
Never
way.
again.
Get back in the
Yeah.
gym, stick to what you're good at.
Yeah.
And then a few weeks later, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't really look at it like that. I find it's an absolute privilege to be able to do it in the first place. That I can get to train to do it. I can get to sign up for races, travel the world, doing different races. It's a privilege. So
I think it's a really good way of looking at things.
It's the attitude.
Yeah. And you said you went from 50Ks to 100Ks, and that was a huge leap, and then 100Ks to 100 miles. Can you talk us through one of your like first experiences of that big jump and some of the bigger challenges that you faced from doing the bigger distances than you did maybe the smaller ones? Yeah,
the time on your feet is, I mean, obviously you can't train for 100 miles. So yeah, that jump, that 60K extra, yeah, it's hard.
You say you can't train for 100 miles, but then how do you train? Like if you're 100 miles is one thing, but then the Hong Kong 4 Trails is 300 kilometers. And then we'll talk about another one that you've done, but the race across Scotland, 350 kilometers over how many days was that?
It took me 73 hours.
Jeez. And so these kind of races, I mean, we're throwing them away like they're nothing, but how do you actually train for stuff like that?
So you sign up for other races, like maybe a 50K race. So before 2019 4 Trails, that 2019, yeah. So in 2018, I'd signed up for specific races to train for that.
Okay.
So I did the 9 Dragons 50-50.
Cool.
And then I did UTMB, which is 100 miles in Chamonix. And then I did maybe 3 other... and then I did Trail Walker as well that year in November. And then I did 2 more 50K races.
So and what sort of timeline is this before the 4 Trails?
A year before.
A 1 year block.
Yeah.
And so you kind of pick races in that 1 year build up, aiming to peak at the 4 Trails period.
Yeah.
And then the times before the races, as in the periods in between, what does that training look like? Are you looking to mini peak for those races and just continue that progression and slowly build up to the 4 Trails?
Yeah. I don't like going over 100K a week.
Oh, really?
I don't,
Total distance per week.
I find my body starts to like break down. I get like pains and stuff.
You like save that for the races.
Yeah. So I try to keep it under 100K a week.
So is that your like average mileage? Would you say is 100K?
It was back then. Now, since I'm older, I'm 55, going to be 55. I try and keep it like 70, 80K a week.
70, 80K a week.
Yeah.
That's...
Yeah.
I think when I was at my peak marathon training, I think I hit like 50 or 60 or something. Wow. And that was a lot for me.
I think that's true for a marathon. Yeah.
I guess it's all subjective, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you're practicing to run a 300 kilometer race, then you need the mileage in the legs and
also
the joints.
With 4 Trails, you need to have done hard 100 miles.
Because the elevation
and just tough ones, not an easy 100K or easy 100 miles.
Is there such a thing?
Well, there is.
Like what would make it easier? Elevation, aid stations,
terrain,
weather.
Not really aid stations, but weather, terrain. Yeah.
Have you?
So like 9 Dragons.
Is that one of the easier ones?
No, that's a hard one.
Okay.
The 50-50. That's a hard it's a hard race.
So is there ever like races that you've done where like a 50 kilometer would actually be harder than a 100 kilometer because of the different terrains and the extra bits?
Yeah, some of the 50Ks. I did one just back in January. Yeah, Salomon 50K, but it's 3,000 meters of elevation. It's a hard race.
It's a hard 50K.
Yeah, and I won it.
Oh, really?
Outright.
Oh,
female.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
That's a little humble one in there. You need to start with that. These are the ones. This is we don't want humble people on here. We want to know.
Even at 55.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I want to sort of talk about that. I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to ask you how old you were, and because I never like asking anyone how old they are in case it's private. But you're 55 now.
I'm going to be 55.
Going to be 55. And so that means in 2019, you were 49 when you finished the Hong Kong 4 trails. That's insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. And it's great because so many people will think at that age that, oh, it's not possible, I'm past my prime, all these excuses, and I'm sure that I'll have them. I have them now at 30. You know, I thought, oh, my prime was 25, you know, all this sort of stuff. So it's so great that you are a living embodiment of what is possible, and you're still pushing the boundaries. Like you're still running these insane races.
But don't get me wrong, the last 4 years have been really, really hard, really tough.
In what ways?
Menopause. I mean, it's been really, really, really hard for me. But I've come out of that and I feel so much stronger now.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's also great that you're happy to talk about stuff like that because it's such a real part of life. I think it's really, really
important. And I think a lot of women need people like me to talk about it.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And it's, again, so great that you are coming on shows like this and doing more speaking because even when I was like prepping for this, sometimes with someone who's done your achievements or who has achieved what you have, I would have expected a lot more stuff to be out there online, to be very honest, because I mean, you know, we spoke a bit before, you don't do very much of this kind of stuff.
No, I don't really enjoy
but you
it.
will, you know, this is the start. This is the start. And you will, the more you do, the better you get. And you've got so many amazing stories and you've just achieved so much. The more people, and women in particular, that hear them will just, I mean, it's going to inspire so many people, just you being outspoken about your achievements. Yeah. But it's not easy sometimes being, not being humble. Yeah. It's like, you know, when I was younger and you had to write your CV and you're writing a CV, it's one of the only things in life where you're not meant to be humble. You're meant to be like, I was an Excel genius and all that sort of stuff. You should write your trail running CV or your life CV. That should be an interesting one. Yeah. So I want to talk again, going back to the sort of 4 trails. This year in 2025, I got that right, years. They've just done it right in February, start of February, they just finished. Yeah. And I think I read that there were 11 survivors. Yeah, so no one finished this year. So that means no one finished under 60 hours, men and women. Yeah. And so 11 people finished under the 72-hour mark. Yes. Is that, when you read stuff like that, do you not just think, wow, I'm amazing? I did this twice.
No, not really, because I know 4 trails is really hard. So I know what they have gone through and it is super hard. Yeah, it's very, very hard. I was actually supposed to run this year.
Oh, really? Again?
Trails. Yeah.
How come you didn't, if you don't mind me asking?
Last year was really hard year for me. A lot of like aches and pains, really bad Achilles, and I couldn't train for 2 months. I couldn't run, and I thought, no, I couldn't. Don't want to risk it. I couldn't do it, so I pulled out.
It's probably a smart move.
But now I feel strong again. I'm back to where I used to be, so I think I will do it one more time.
One more time.
One more time.
And what would the aim be that time? To finish again?
To be a finisher, of course. Everybody wants to be a finisher.
That's unreal.
I don't think anybody goes into that challenge wanting to be a survivor.
Really? So everyone is it like a ballot system, or can anyone have an entrance?
You have to have a qualifier of 100 miles.
Okay, so you have to have done a 100-mile race before.
And then you have to write an essay to Andre, your reasons why you want to do it.
Wow. Yeah. So both times you've entered, you've had to write an essay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And can you share with us kind of what stuff you put in that essay?
Well, in 2019, actually, Andre published the essay that I
really?
wrote. Yeah, he published it online. Yeah.
What was it? What stuff was in there?
I just said it was the next thing for me. I'd done all these other 100-mile races, and it was the next step up for me to challenge myself. And also with 4 trails, you don't get any medal. There's no prize. There's no RTRA points. It's nothing. I like that. I like that.
You don't need an external validation.
No, don't need it. I do it for myself. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What's the you've had all these amazing accomplishments now. Is there any races out there in the world that you haven't done yet that are on your bucket list that you think you're going to tick off in the next few years?
Yeah, there's 1 or 2. Yeah.
Which ones?
After 2019, I really wanted to do the Barkley Marathon.
Wow. I've seen the Netflix series about Barkley Marathon, yeah.
So I waited a while. And then in 2020, I found out, because it's very secretive, how you apply, how you do it. I found out the way of applying. So I wrote my essay, sent it in, and I actually, you have to send it in on a certain date at a certain time, but it's American time. I actually sent it in one day before I was supposed to. Yeah, I was like, but I hadn't realized that. It wasn't until 2 weeks later, I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night and I went, shit.
It's US time.
I sent it one day too early. I was like, oh shit. So then I sent Laz a message and said, I know what I've done. That's why I haven't heard from you. I sent it one day too early. And he just said, yeah, and I don't know why. And then he proceeded in telling me how to tell the time difference between America and Hong Kong. So I was like, oh, well, that's my chances gone.
Chances gone for that year.
Yeah. But then 2 weeks later, I got another message from him and he said, it's not as bad as a condolence, but it's nearly as bad. You're on the wait list.
Okay.
So I got on the wait list. But that was in
Was that like pre-COVID?
But then COVID hit.
And then,
so then the race was cancelled.
Right, okay. So, hey, you didn't miss out.
So I tried again the next year, and I got a condolence from him.
So you got in?
Yeah.
And you did the Barkley?
No, I didn't go.
Okay, I was going to say, I missed something massive there in my research.
I couldn't go.
Why is that?
Because it was COVID, and it's the time in Hong Kong where you had to go for 3... If you went out, you were 3-week quarantine there, 3 weeks. And my husband had just lost his job, and I couldn't justify
that makes sense.
To run around them.
So okay, let's talk about the Barkley Marathon for a sec. You'll know more than I do. Can you just explain to the listeners what exactly is entailed in the Barkley Marathons? The
Barkley Marathons is a race in the Tennessee mountains. It's roughly around 100 miles, 60 hours. You have 60 hours to run 100 miles. It's roughly 100 miles. But there's probably around 16,000 meters of elevation. Nobody knows exactly the elevation. It changes.
Yeah. Because they change the route every year, right?
They don't. Slightly. Yeah, they changed the direction as well. You're not allowed any GPS. You don't know the start time.
There's so many, for anyone that hasn't seen it, there's a Netflix documentary about it, right?
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. Is it just called the Barkley Marathons?
Where Dreams Go to Die, and there's also the Barkley Marathons.
Yeah. It's so interesting, and you don't have to be into ultra running to find them interesting. It's like a really amazing watch on human psychology, human physiology, how far you can push yourselves. Because what's the guy's name again?
Lazarus,
the founder. He does things that really just try and mess with your mindset, right? Like they won't tell you the official start date.
No,
where you're in your camp. And then they'll sound the
runners know the start date, but they don't know the start time.
Sorry, the start date, time. But they don't know the time. It's in within like a 12-hour window or something.
And he lights his cigarette.
That's it.
That's the start of the race.
He lights his cigarette.
Yeah, well, he blows the conch first, and then
And every runner has to bring in a number plate from where they're from.
Yes.
Is that it?
Yeah.
And the trail, correct me if I'm wrong at any point. I'm just like remembering what I watched on Netflix. The trail is a series of book pages.
Yeah, they're like the checkpoints.
The checkpoints, sorry.
Yeah.
So he rips out.
You have a bib, what number bib you have to then rip out
that page number
in the
of
book.
that book.
Yes.
So there's books stashed around this trail.
And you have to find them.
And you navigate to go there.
So it's map and compass, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. And the books are, again, another mind game. The books are like
all different names.
Chosen from him, from names to make you think about giving up and quitting and all that sort of stuff. I can't. Are you going to look into doing it again then, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I have to apply again. It's quite a long process. You have to apply and then you get a condolence letter and then you have to like...
when you say condolence letter, do you mean like an acceptance letter to the race?
Yes,
or
he calls it a condolence.
That he calls it a condolence letter. Yeah. Oh, the mind games begin from day one.
Yeah. Oh. And then you have an entry form to fill out questions, but the questions are so crazy, but he's testing you.
Yeah. What sort of questions are they? Are you allowed to share?
I can't really share.
Okay, fair. Yeah. I don't want to sacrifice your
some
next
of them
entries.
Are really humorous. I mean, I think he's taking the piss quite a lot.
He must be. But I don't want to for you to overshare and then you sacrifice your place in the Barkley Marathons.
I think I'll try again, but I have other things as well. It's not a race that you could just go there one time and finish it. I think it's one that you
build up the tolerance.
You have to go
commit to for a 5 year stint.
Yeah, commit to 5-6 years. Yeah.
And you're happy to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, even just from this conversation so far, you seem like you've got the mindset for the Barkleys because it's not
for everyone.
It's barely for anyone, actually. Yeah. It's really a limited number of humans in the world, I think, that would want to do the Barkley Marathons. Yeah.
And then last year, Jasmine Paris, of course, she was the first female finish it. Yeah.
So she's the trailblazer in this. Yeah. And I mean, that's great, right? But even, I mean, there's barely any finishes of it anyway, globally. Yeah. And there are years where there are no finishes, right?
No, yeah.
And it's similar in a sense. There's finishes, you have to finish it in a certain time, right, to be dubbed a finisher.
In Barkley?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to, there's a cut off every lap as well. So you have to finish it within a certain time before you can go to the next lap.
God, it just seems so brutal. Because you also have to be good at navigating, right?
Really, yeah. So I did train with that.
Did you?
Yeah.
So that's something
So I did accept, when I got the condolence letter, I did accept it and I started training for it. But then with COVID, it was just impossible.
Well, stay tuned. I'm sure if you get accepted and do it again.
Just to get a condolence letter is amazing. For him to actually accept my essay, I think that speaks a lot as well.
It's a huge testament to you and your character and what you've done. Like, let alone writing a CV of your accomplishments. If you get a condolence letter from the Barkley Marathons, I think it speaks for itself. Yeah. You should frame that and send that around as your CV. Yeah. So any other races then? Barkley Marathon, is there any others that you've kind of penciled in that you want to achieve before all is said and done?
Yeah, there's a few. I mean, I've got Rinjani 100 coming up this year. I tried it last year, but I DNF'd.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's a really hard one as well.
How did you DNF?
I DNF'd at 20k because it was my own fault actually. I'd overhydrated.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah.
And so what happens when you overhydrate?
Within the first 5k, I knew something was wrong. And I started like spinny heads, dizzy, vomiting.
First 5k.
It's not normal for me to do that. So I knew something was wrong. And that Rinjani is in Indonesia. It's a volcano. And I knew something was wrong. And it's just too difficult of a race to finish feeling like that. So I stopped.
That's a smart decision.
Yeah.
But that's overhydration. That's
it was my own fault. Stupid mistake.
Really?
Yeah.
And what do you think that was from? Just
I was really
panic
worried.
Drinking?
Yeah, I was really worried because it starts at sea level and you go up to Rinjani, which is 4,000 meters.
Wow.
So it's really quite hot and humid. So I was like, I've got to hydrate. I mean, you'd think I'd be used to the the weather here in
Yeah,
Hong Kong.
I was going to say, you're in Hong Kong.
I don't know. Yeah.
Fair enough. Hey, you can't win them all.
Yeah. So I'm going back this year. So that's one that I really want to
tick off.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if it with a DNF last time, it'd be nice to.
Yeah.
Have you had many DNFs?
Not that many, no.
I'd imagine they're quite common with ultra running. Maybe not yourself, but other athletes. I follow a couple on social media, and I swear, like every other week, someone's DNF'd, or which again, I'm not judging because I'm sure, but it seems like a relatively common thing.
There is a lot, but it's.
Which I'm not surprised about, but
but again, it's all about attitude, and I'm not gonna, if I'm in a race and my legs are working well, I feel fine, but maybe I'm a little bit slower than I thought I would be. I'm not gonna stop.
Yeah, that's okay.
Just because I'm not doing the time I thought I was gonna do. I'll keep
How
going.
much of the race itself is physical versus mental?
In the 50Ks, 100Ks probably is a lot is physical, but over that, it's a lot is mental.
And at what point, like what sort of thoughts are you having when that mental strength comes into play? Like, are you ever doubting yourself and telling yourself to quit?
Yeah, never. I don't doubt myself because, again, I think it's an absolute privilege to do these things. And people say to me, oh, well, you're not suffering. I don't look at it as suffering. It's because we choose to do it.
Yeah, you've put yourself there.
I'm not suffering.
That's such a good way to think of things. Is there any, like, do you have any tips or tricks that you do when you're out on the trails? And I mean, there must be times, yes, you put yourself in that position, you get tired.
I get tired. It's really hard.
How do you pick yourself up again in those moments?
Because those times never last. They might last for an hour, 2 hours, but they never last. So you can always pick yourself back up.
As long as you get through that hour, that 2 hours, you're like, okay, I know it will pass. I'll feel better after this.
Yeah.
I mean, without getting too philosophical, that's a good one for life there, Bad times pass.
Yeah, they do. It passes. Yeah.
So even if it's 1 hour on a trail or a year in your lifetime, it's like, it's shit at the time, but.
And it comes back to attitude as well.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. What would you say the biggest lesson that trail running and ultra marathon running has taught you that you have used in your normal life?
That you're capable of so much more than you think you are if you just try and keep going. You can get through a lot if you just keep going. Don't stop. It's
crazy, isn't it, how strong everyone's mind is.
Oh yeah.
It's for me, obviously I've never done anything like your distances. The most I've done is a marathon, but I wouldn't even compare it to like a marathon run, but just in day-to-day life, by having an attitude where you tell yourself you can do things versus you can't, and finding reasons why you can do it instead of reasons why it won't work or why you can't do things, just that simple shift is so powerful. It's so, because you go where your energy goes. If you tell yourself you're great and you're going to be successful and positive things, then a lot of the time positive things happen. And it's not being arrogant and just telling yourself, I'm the best thing since sliced bread. It's not that. It's
like that.
You keep referencing just being grateful to be there. And grateful that you can run, grateful that you can be in the great outdoors, and you've signed up to this race. You've put yourself in that position, which I think we're talking about trail running here, but a lot of times in life we do put ourselves in these positions, and it's finding that gratitude for where we are and what we're doing with our lives. And I just think it's a great testament to yourself that, I mean, I wanted to ask all about the dark moments on the trails and the mental games.
People talk about, going into the pain cave, but that's not what I'm really about. It's not really pain for me, although it's really hard. I don't look at it like going into my pain cave. It's
that's really cool, because by having that, it's kind of like nothing can really affect you in a way, because pain you can only withstand so much, and then until the pain cave no longer becomes fun to be in.
I mean, trail running is like 100 miles 300k, it's hard, but it's how you manage yourself as well. It's like one big problem solving journey, isn't it? An attitude. And
What tips would you give to someone who was maybe at a stage that you were at, maybe running like 10Ks, 15Ks, but looking to get into trails, maybe push the longer distance to a marathon, maybe a 50K? What tips would you give to that person?
Just sign up for like the 15k races, get really good at them and comfortable with it.
Like good running fast times, or just being comfortable running that distance?
Yeah, and good, and feeling happy and managing yourself with that distance, and then go up to 25. Get really good at that, and then go up to 50. I find a lot of people these days do 150k and then think, okay, I can run 100 miles.
It kind of seems like the thing to do at the moment.
I personally don't think it works like that. Just take time. It's patience again, which is trail running. Patience. Yeah.
It's like progressive overload in the gym, you know. And I mean, you train with the guys at Joint Dynamics full time. It's like how you get sustainable growth, right? Is progressive overload. So I'm not going to go to the gym not having squatted in 6 months or having a knee injury and then put 200 kilos on the bar and go for a squat. It's like, no, I'm going to maybe put 10 kilos on more than I did last week, see how I feel, get good at that for a few weeks, then go 10 kilos more, 10 kilos more.
I think trail running's like that, you know, get good at one distance and then move up.
I think there's quite a...
sort your nutrition out, your hydration.
Yes, great points. I mean...
Everything.
For me, when I was running, long for me, subjectively, I eat pretty healthy, but I kind of use running as an excuse to then go to the bakeries and pastries after, which is honestly, I wasn't, I talk about it as if I was just like eating bad food the whole time. I wasn't. But can you talk to us a bit about the importance of nutrition, hydration, diet, supplements, anything that you do in your life that helps you do what you do on the trails?
Nutrition wise, like during a race or before?
Let's go just day to day. Day to day first.
I don't really do anything extreme, really. I just eat healthy home cooked food. My husband's a really good cook.
Oh, you found a good one.
Yeah. So he cooks for me. So it's really good, healthy home cooked food.
Just like normal balance of protein, carbs and veggies.
Yeah. With my age, I try to eat more protein nowadays than I used to, but that's just an age thing.
For sustaining muscles, lean muscle,
Women my age, you need more protein.
Right.
So that's probably what I do more now.
Do you take any supplements or anything to help your, like in day-to-day life? Like I've got a big supplement stack in the morning. I've got my fish oils, my curcumin. Probiotic?
Yeah, probiotic. A vitamin tablet. I can't remember which one though.
Vitamin C, vitamin D.
No, it wasn't vitamin C. I think it's vitamin D, yeah. I also use the Bix Recovery.
Okay, yeah.
Tablet.
Yeah.
Which is, I really like that.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of iron in it. It's got magnesium. I really like it.
Yeah, everyone swears by magnesium. Yeah. There's, again, I think the health and fitness industry, there's probably a load of supplements out there that do nothing. But, if you talk to the guys, any professional will hopefully tell you which ones to go to.
Yeah.
And then let's go pre-race. Say you've got a 100 miler coming up in, not tomorrow, in a week's time from today. Yeah. How was your nutrition looking like from now up until the race? I
do start eating more carbs. I do believe in carb loading.
What's your favorite type of carbs?
I know a lot of people say, oh, it's not, you know.
I don't care if it's a myth.
Carb load these days, but I personally do that. Pasta.
Yes.
Pasta.
So good.
Yeah.
And you'll do that from 7 days out?
Maybe 4.
Or just like slowly build up?
Yeah. Pasta, rice. Yeah.
I don't even care if people say that carb loading's a myth. Like for me, it's like a reward you give yourself before you endure the hard thing.
Yeah.
Like food for me is just such a big part of my life. I'm just such a big foodie.
Yeah.
So if I was running, even when I'm running like a 20K or a marathon 42K, I'll carb load hard. I can't imagine what I would do if I was running a 100 miler.
I know.
I'd probably start carb loading like 4 weeks out or something.
Yeah.
Probably let myself balloon a bit. And then fueling during the race. Again, we're doing 100 miles here. What's your fueling strategy during a race? What are you actually using for fuel? And what do you need? What does your body need?
If it's 100 miles, I will tend to eat more real food. My body just works better with real food.
Mm-hmm.
If it's like a 50K, I'll just do gels.
Oh, okay.
But I can't do gels for
100 miles.
For over 100K.
So
My
gels, we're
stomach
talking like carb gels and like sugar gels for energy, right?
Yeah,
so
just for energy.
Quick digesting,
Yeah.
and just so it gets into the system quickly.
Yeah, 50K it's fine. I can deal with that.
And is that because of like a gut thing?
Yeah.
Like I hear ultra runners say you need to train your gut to manage this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
We spoke to a guy called Seb recently on the podcast who's doing a thing called the Arctic Triple, which is a Eskimo marathon ultra trail. And he said when he did his Ironman in the UK last year, he just didn't really train his stomach as well as he should have done. And he said he didn't eat for 2 days after running an Ironman. And I thought the opposite. I thought he would eat for non-stop for 2 days. He's like, mate, I was dead. My stomach was gone. Yeah, so for you in 100 miles, it's whole foods.
Yeah,
as in like real food.
Yeah. So when I did race across Scotland, which was west coast to the east coast of Scotland.
And give us the stats on that. How far are we talking for that one?
That was 356 kilometers.
God.
So I trained my stomach. I knew I would need real food because the checkpoints are really far between. So I trained my stomach so I would have lunch, like a big lunch, and then I would go out and run.
Oh my God.
So I got used to
digesting
running on a full stomach.
God, that's funny that has to be part of your training.
Yeah.
And so what, when we're talking about real foods, we're just talking about non-gels, do you have like a go-to on your races?
I like stodgy, like really like quiche.
Like quiche. That's so that's so random.
Like quiche or like a macaroni pie. Or
wow, I love that.
Or like noodles or fried rice.
Yeah. Nothing gourmet in there. Just give me that stodgy brown stuff.
Cheese, toasty, or like something really,
And does it change if it's like a cold race versus a hot race?
Yeah. I need more if it's cold. Yeah.
You need more food.
More food. Yeah, because you have to keep your body warm. Yeah.
Right.
Like race across Scotland. Another reason why I ate more in the checkpoints was to keep warm because it was freezing.
How cold was it? I mean, it's Scotland. It's not going to be warm.
No, it went down to around, I think 2 degrees.
Oh my gosh.
And it rained from start to finish.
I mean, what do you expect? It's the UK. What time of year was it?
That was in the end of August, I think, if I remember rightly.
End of August, so summer. So summer in the UK, summer in Scotland.
But I also did the West Highland race, the West Highland Way race, which is the 100 miles from
on the west coast of
Glasgow
Scotland,
up to up.
Geography's not my strong point. I'm not gonna lie.
And it rained there, and it was midsummer. It rained, and there was in Glencoe there was actually snowing.
Oh my God, Scotland! See, my wife and I, we are. Scotland's on the bucket list, actually. My wife is French, and I don't know why she's so obsessed with going to Scotland. But it is beautiful. Yeah. It is beautiful. But I do tell her, I'm like, if we go, you've got to expect that it's not going to be blue skies and no wind. It's going to be freezing. In a day, in an hour.
Yeah, in an hour.
So this run, then, I want to go into detail on this run. The run across Scotland.
Yeah.
340 or 56 Ks, 73 hours, 73 and a half hours
you
of running.
have 100 hours to complete it. That's the
And is that your finisher if you're 100 hours, or is it different for?
No, that's it.
That's just a cut off.
Just cut
0
off,
to 100 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And that's non-stop.
Non-stop, yeah. I didn't sleep.
You didn't sleep at all?
No, I never sleep.
Because I watched a video on like a sort of a highlights one of one of the years of this race race across Scotland, and some people were saying they had like a 3-hour kip or half an hour kip. You just don't sleep.
I lie down, I put my legs up against a wall, but I don't sleep. Yeah.
So 73 and a half hours.
Yeah, I don't sleep.
What?
Even in 4 trails, I never sleep. I just can't sleep. But I actually think I can. I think that's one of my
Super strengths.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
Say it louder. Super strengths.
Yeah, that I can function quite well on very little sleep.
God, that is
Like
the
I
super
can
strength.
manage myself. Like,
I mean, because often when I've seen these documentaries or videos of these really
they
tough
have to
endurance
sleep,
races,
yeah.
you look at people that haven't slept and they're like zombies. They're like delusional. They don't know who their wife is or husband is, and they're just like zombies.
Yeah.
And I see you at the end of the 4 Trails video, you're like, hey, yeah, that was good.
in 2019, I felt,
Well, that was your unicorn. Was it unicorn run?
Yeah.
Unicorn run.
Yeah.
Oh.
But so in Race Across Scotland, I rested. I laid down. They had like blow up mattresses for the runners.
Okay, cool.
So I lay down, but I didn't sleep.
You just lay down with your legs up.
Closed my eyes, but couldn't sleep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long were those sort of rest periods?
I took time because I ate really well and then I rested. So I'd say like 45 minutes.
How many of them did you take across?
10.
So you took.
Yeah.
But how many rests did you take across
so there's 10 checkpoints.
Okay,
so
and every time you lay down and
like about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's quite a lot of time.
You took 10 lots of 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so you pretty much got your 8 hours sleep.
Yeah. I didn't actually sleep though.
That's crazy. And is that one? I assume there's not many finishes for that one either.
No, there's not. Yeah. Yeah.
And is that just because obviously it's
the
savage
distance,
race? But...
Yeah, the distance and the weather. The year I did it, the weather really affected people.
Because the one that I watched, or the highlights that I watched of one of them, it was sunny.
Yeah. See,
and it looked quite nice.
I think that's the year I watched it and thought, I really want to do that.
Oh, right. That was the one that made you sign up.
And then it was,
Oh, they gaslighted you into signing up. And so what are the challenges from that race? Were there any unique challenges to that race that, because of the distance, because of just different races, that you hadn't seen in a race before that, or something that took you off guard?
The bogs. Yeah.
Oh. How do you deal with bogs? Oh. You can't.
Nothing works. I mean, trying to manage your feet. I had extra shoes. I had extra socks, gels, creams. It's just, horrific.
That must be horrific. You put your foot in a bog knowing that you've got to run.
Some of them were up
your knees.
Yeah. You think they looked fine, but you went straight
gosh.
In. Yeah.
So you don't get that in Hong Kong.
No.
You might get the odd pothole on the trails, but you don't get a 1 meter bog.
The last 20 miles, my feet were like, it was like knives sticking into the bottoms of my feet.
What, just from pain or blisters?
Yeah, pain. From the wetness.
Talk to us about
I actually got, when I finished, my feet were so bad. I went to see a doctor and actually had to go on antibiotics because they were so infected.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really bad. I have pictures.
Well, you'll send the pictures to Wilson so that we can use in the footage. What can you describe the state of your feet after a race like that?
Awful.
How
the worst my feet have ever been.
Was it just like they look like they've been in water the whole time, and there's blisters
white,
and wrinkly,
really deep creases.
Like when you've been in a bath for like an hour and your fingers crease, but times a million.
Yeah.
Oh, horrific. I've got the image in my head now. How can you run on that?
I actually couldn't walk for 2 days. So I just lay on the sofa in my mum and dad's house. I couldn't walk up the stairs.
Was that in the UK? You said in the UK,
yeah.
Oh, I mean, let's go into the recovery side of things then. Like, what does a recovery look like for a race? How do you even begin to recover from a 350 kilometer race?
I gave myself a lot of rest, ate a lot.
How long's a lot for you though? Because I'm worried here that your lot of rest is very different from a lot of other people's lot of rest.
I took it really quite easy. Yeah.
For how long?
A few weeks.
Okay.
But I mean, even after that, I mean, I just took it really gently, walking, hiking, really slowly.
And how long was it after where? So you're horizontal for 2 days.
Yeah.
And then is there anything else you're doing, whether it's your sleep, nutrition, hydration, stretching, in that period after the race that can help your recovery, or that you do individually to help your recovery?
I drink a lot. Yeah, I drink a lot, and I try to eat a lot. Yeah.
But
the sleep, I can't really sleep. It takes me a long time to get into a sleep.
Why is that?
Again, I think just my head's spinning and
sleep deprived.
Yeah. And I go over the race as well.
thinking what you could do better.
Yeah,
And
I go over the whole route.
gosh,
Yeah.
psychopath. You just ran the race.
Yeah.
And that's so funny. Because for me, again, I keep referencing myself, even though it's incomparable to what you've done. But when I ran the marathons, or whenever I went on a long run or did a hard race, what I found surprising, I assumed that I would sleep really well that night. And
Afterwards.
yeah. And I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I feel so I'm physically
sleep.
tired. I'm mentally drained. And then as soon as I actually lay down, I can't sleep because I'm not sure if it's something to do with my nervous system, but also my joints are throbbing.
Yeah.
So it took a couple nights sleep to actually then get the good night's sleep that you're after. And so I can only imagine what it would be like after 350 kilometers with genuine pain and genuine, soft tissue damage and all that sort of stuff.
And the adrenaline as well, and just everything. Yeah, it takes a while for me.
It must be a weird feeling knowing that you're so tired, but you can't actually sleep.
Yeah.
Let alone during the race when you know that, surely you know that if you slept for an hour during the race, that's going to benefit you. Or would it not?
Yeah, but I just can't sleep. Yeah, I just can't do it.
And how long do you think you could go without sleeping? If there was so we've done 350 kilometers.
Yeah, so 73 hours. I think that was probably
the max.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
I mean, I had some really bad hallucinations on that race.
Did you?
Yeah.
Talk to us about them.
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
The last 30K, I had this. It was another trail runner running with me.
Is it a legit person, or you were just imagining a person?
Yeah, yeah. And he kept telling me, just stop. It's okay. You've done this race before. And I'd be like, no, I haven't. What are you talking about?
Wrong person. So you had you had an imaginary person
with me,
following you for the last 30K.
He was right beside me. Yeah.
Oh my God. Was it someone? Was like the face someone that
guy,
you recognised?
No, a cat, just like a trail runner. Yeah.
So that was
telling me to stop.
Your inner demons projecting
telling
themselves as a real person running next to you. Oh, that's scary.
So, it was.
That's scary. Did you think at all that he was real during the moment?
Some points, yeah. But then I had to just say to myself, because I've had those situations before, and that again, that's like the experience from doing hard stuff. I just say to myself, it's not real. It's not real. And then
that is insane. I've never heard of anything like that before in my life.
Yeah.
So you spoke then about your experiences before that help you prepare for that experience. Tell us about those. What experience could possibly help you prepare for an imaginary trail runner?
Well, it's just hallucinations. So I've had them in like all the long distance races.
What other ones have you had?
The first 100 miles I did in UTMF. Actually, in the Four Trails movie, I speak about it. It's the witches. It's the flags for the course route.
Yeah.
They turned into witches flying.
My goodness.
Yeah.
But those ones are more not realistic. That you're more aware that that's fake.
Yeah.
You know that's for sure a hallucination.
Yeah. Or there's branches or sticks on the ground turn into snakes.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That could be real.
Yeah. That's quite freaky. Yeah.
Do your when you have like a support team, like you speak about your husband and your team, do they ever worry about you doing this sort of stuff and seeing you in these kind of states?
My husband does, but other trail runners who come and support me, they kind of know.
They get it.
They get it, yeah. But my husband's not a trail runner. He gets a little bit worried about me, but other people...
So he should, by the way. So he should.
Yeah.
Has he ever sort of said anything to you?
He never
wanting you to stop or turn it back a bit?
No.
He's never told you that's the step too far.
No.
That's too much.
He was the one person who said to me, before the 2019 Four Trails, I don't know if you watched it, The Breaking 60. It was the movie that first came out in 2016.
I haven't seen it.
About Four Trails.
Right.
It was the first movie. And it was on the Cathay flights.
Oh, cool.
You know,
like on the flight catalogue.
Yeah. So he watched that. And he said to me, we got off the flight and he said to me, you can do that and you'll break 60. I was like, yeah, okay. I'll
cool.
Try. Yeah.
That's cool to have someone believe in you that much.
Yeah. You only need that one person, yeah.
I mean, it's like what you've done, the first female to do it, is for sure there'll be more females to come and whatever, but to be the first, it's like running the first 4-minute mile, you know, and then the year after it gets broken after never being broken for so many years. It's having your husband tell you in that moment when it hadn't been done yet.
Yeah, he said, yeah, you'll do it and you'll break 60.
That's cool. Yeah.
He was the only person who said that to me.
Everyone else
said, you come close.
They said you come close.
You'll come close, but you won't break 60. Yeah.
What type? You don't have to give me names, obviously, but was it like friends or coaches and
friends? Yeah, other runners. Yeah.
And then you show them your resume.
My coach said I could. Yeah, he was very.
He said you could.
Yeah.
Well, surely, because if your coach is telling you that you couldn't, then oh, that's cool. That must have been a proud moment to not prove the haters wrong, because they're not haters, but
not haters. Yeah,
but you know, prove to yourself, prove your husband right. Yeah, which is special.
Yeah, and to my 2 girls as well. Yeah, they
must look up to you so much. Are they into their running as well, or do you think they will be?
Yeah, they're very sporty. Yeah.
What I'm interested, like outside of trail running, what's your like day-to-day profession? Like, what do you do?
I don't work at the moment. Yeah,
you don't.
Yeah.
But what have you ever worked whilst doing trail running and things? No. So this is your.
Yeah, it's like a full-time job. Really.
So do you have? If you're allowed to talk about it, are you like sponsored to be a full-time? Trail running athlete?
I've never been sponsored.
Never.
Wow,
right. Let's get the word out there. You're up for sponsorship.
Like saying that, I'm on the Joint Dynamics Gone Running team, and they give you things,
training and all that sort of stuff.
Training, races, yeah.
So you're
so like shorts,
I mean,
which is amazing. Which is
that's all you need.
Incredible. It's a privilege as well to be part of that.
Yeah. God, it's so funny. I love talking to you because you're so incredibly humble what you've achieved. Like I would speak, even myself, right? I could run a marathon and I'd be like, right, I need sponsorship. Nike, come on, sponsor me. Like I should be a Nike athlete.
Yeah.
And you've done all these records and all these races, and you're like, oh, they gave me a pair of shorts. Like I'm so lucky. Yeah. I'm like, wow, I should take a leaf out of her book. This is special.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just old school.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's back to basics.
Yeah, I think people these days want more. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, it's cool to see that what you do. That's what I like about running as well. You don't need much to do it. No. It's not like other sports where you need a lot of equipment and the barrier to entry is quite high sometimes, especially cost wise. I mean, I'm sure trail running isn't cheap because you do need some equipment for that. But essentially, to get into running, you just need a pair of trainers.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah,
that I really like. Yeah. That I really like. Are you part of any like other running communities in Hong Kong, or have you been in the past?
Yeah, the Hong Kong trail running community. I run the Facebook group with a few other people as well.
So it's all about trail running for you?
All about trail running. I also help out, there's a charity called Exchange and Empower, who help like underprivileged or disadvantaged women get into trail running. So this year we're helping 6 foreign domestic helpers who are super strong, really amazing trail runners. But it's expensive for them. Shoes, equipment, shorts, T-shirts, even the race entry. It's really expensive for them. So, yeah, we raise funds to give.
That's amazing.
To them, yeah.
And what is it about?
And some of these women, they work full time, but they get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning and then go train. God. It's so inspiring.
You got to take your hat off to that.
To say, oh, I don't have time to train.
Yeah. Turn that around.
Again, it's a privilege.
You don't make time. For sure. It's one of my bugbears, and I catch myself saying it sometimes as well. I don't have time to insert task. Yeah, and it's actually, I've changed it over the last couple of years to, I don't make time because, for example, like you coming here to do the podcast, if you just said, I don't have time, fair enough. But you could have time if you prioritize it over something else. But if you don't, that's also fine. But it's like, no, I'm not making time to prioritize this over something else. But it's being comfortable to say that you're not making time for that because you're doing something else, which is fine. But it's kind of going into that mindset that we spoke about earlier. It's that people talking about excuses, and we're all guilty of it. And we spoke before the podcast. It's one of the whole reasons why, abnormal is what it is. And it was from me realizing that so many people, including myself, were making excuses why other people were in these fortunate positions and privileged positions, and we're not.
Yeah.
When actually, look at us. Look, we're super fortunate, and my life is amazing. I'm so lucky to be where I am.
Yeah.
But I was really getting tired of people putting other people's success down to being lucky and being privileged and not having to work for it. And so doing this whole exercise, speaking to people like yourself, there is no doubt that you are in your position through a lot of hard work and a lot of risk taking as well.
Yeah.
You can't get to where you are today without training bloody hard, putting plans in place and making a lot of sacrifices.
And committing to something. Like, you sign up for a race, you put in the training, you commit to it. Yeah.
How cool is that I think it's very easy to understand from a sporting perspective, from myself as well, because as you said, you sign up to a race, you reverse engineer from there where you are now. Okay, we've got a year till we're doing this race. Let's put a plan in place. Yeah. And I'm pretty confident that if I hit every step of that plan and I leave no stone unturned, I will reach X in the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's, for me, that's one of the best feelings ever, because you stick to the plan.
You've worked hard, and you've stuck to it.
Have you had any of those sort of examples when your sporting career, but how that planning and dedication has helped you in other areas of your life as well?
I think with my two girls, like bringing them up, showing them commitment and not giving up, putting in the hard work. If you work hard, it equals success. Not always. You can fail, is okay as well. But it's been good for them.
How important is what you're doing now to set an example for your two girls?
Oh, it's massive. Yeah,
do you ever think about that when you're on the trails?
Oh, totally. All the time. Yeah.
Would you say that's your main reason why?
Not the main reason. I do it for myself, but also for them. Yeah.
It's so cool for them to have a mum like you, who 55 is trailblazing still through the ultra world, and like you're literally walking the walk, about, yes, you're doing all these amazing sporting adventures and challenges, but that's why I love sports so much. It can tell you so much about other parts of life. It doesn't need to be just sport specific. No. What you're achieving, and even like considering signing up to things like the Barkley marathons, what that shows to not just your daughters, but hopefully now a lot more people from hearing your story and getting to know you more. It's just so cool. Yeah. It proves that age means nothing.
Nothing. It means nothing.
Nothing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people use it as an excuse, but it doesn't have to be an excuse. Even if you just do 5K or 10K, it doesn't have to be 100 miles. Just keep moving forward as well.
Oh, I love that you've brought up those distances, because you're exactly right. You are running 100-mile races, 200-mile races, but it doesn't mean that that's the benchmark for other people that you had to do. Yeah. Like, it's when we're talking about abnormal things, it's very subjective. That's why I love the name abnormal. Yeah. Because you're a very abnormal person because of what you're achieving, and your achievements by definition are extremely abnormal. Yeah. However, abnormal is a very subjective measure. Totally. So people listening, for them, something abnormal might be running a 5K. Might be walking 5K, which is fine. Yeah,
totally fine.
But listening to people like you will hopefully inspire people just to do that. Go out and buy those pair of running trainers. It doesn't even have to be to do with fitness. Go out and volunteer for the charity that you've been thinking about for ages. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, abnormal is very subjective, and I love that. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay. I want to ask you a question which I ask all my guests on the podcast. It's on the theme of abnormal. If you were to give one piece of advice to anyone out there listening and watching who wanted to do something abnormal in their lives, like we just spoke about, running the 5K, signing up to charity, whatever it is, very subjective, what would that one piece of advice be?
Just try it. Go and try and do it. Even if you fail, it's okay. Just try. Never regret. Yeah.
No regrets.
Yeah.
And I think I'm so happy you brought up failing, because myself included, brought up, naturally we're scared of failure, or we're not scared, we don't want to fail.
Don't want to fail. Yeah.
And that, for most people, is enough for us not to try.
Yeah.
That fear of failure is enough for us not to try, which is petrifying.
Yeah.
And I think when you're in the sports environment, you maybe are a bit, I don't want to say better, I'm not really a wordsmith, but when you play sports, you fail very frequently.
Yeah.
You win or you lose.
Yeah.
You execute a skill or you don't execute a skill. You finish a race or you DNF. So every week you either fail or succeed at something.
Yeah.
And even when you're training, you fail or succeed.
Yeah.
So you become a bit used to that.
Yeah. And every race you do, it's not going to be perfect, but it shouldn't stop you from carrying on. You could go out and have a really awful race. I've had many awful races, but it never stopped me from doing it again.
I love that. You learn more from your failures.
Yeah, you learn it. Yeah.
And it's important to shed a light on them to your daughters, to everyone listening, to people out there. It doesn't have to be a 100-mile race.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't have to be a 5-kilometer run. It could be anything. But failure's okay. That's the only way you're going to improve and learn. But just go out there and try.
Try it.
And don't be scared.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to wake up in 30 years' time doing the same thing that you're doing today and wishing that you did try back in the day.
Yeah, totally.
When you could be running 350 kilometers across Scotland in the pissing down rain with Nikki.
Yeah.
That's the dream. Well, Nikki, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Unbelievable talking to you and hearing about your story. My wife might kill me, but I might go home and sign up to an ultra race. You know,
which one?
Not the Scotland one. Maybe one of the nice ones. If I make a holiday out of it, I think she'll be a bit happier.
There's some really cool races in Scotland. Oh. And in the whole of the UK now, it's become so popular.
I mean, it's popular. It feels like a big phenomenon almost moving forward. Like everywhere's not just ultra running, but like running in general.
Yeah,
it's all picking up, and I love it. I'm here for it. I'm going to do a lot more in 2025, and you've inspired me, Nikki. So thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for inviting me.
Pleasure. You can come on again after the Barkley marathons. How's that?
One day.
Well, good luck with that, and I can't wait to follow your journey from afar. Thank you, Nikki.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Abnormal. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing to the channel and give us a 5-star review in whatever podcast platform you are listening or watching on right now, as it goes a long way to help growing the show. Thank you, and see you in the next one.